The last time I was in Malta was in December 1970. This time my son Nate is with me. We are awaiting our Airbnb host and getting a coffee and a snack right outside the place where we'll be staying. First impressions, wow. I have to admit that I love the Mediterranean. It's my kind of climate. Not too hot, sunny and clear. I'm looking up at the place we booked and thinking, there's going to be a great view from up there. Meanwhile, there's a great view from down here. We're in Sliema, and this is Marsamxett Harbour, with the colourful boats and blue sea. It's the 23rd of June at 11:43 in the morning, and it's a hot, dry day with a little breeze and as clear as can be. I've walked across the road while we're waiting for the food to get my first shots, and already I'm thinking to myself, we're gonna make a great film here. We are soon in our Airbnb, sitting on the balcony and surveying the scene that we will enjoy for 3 days. Beautiful. Malta is smack bang in the middle of the sea that is in the middle of the land, if you see what I mean. It has a fascinating history that not only makes it a great place to explore, but a great place to soak in history. We're in Sliema, overlooking the capital, Valletta, that already beckons. From the balcony we can see Valletta and the tourist boats and ferries, and thought it was a good way to start the holiday. From up here we get a great view over Marsamxett Harbour, Manoel Island and the fort opposite, and Valette in the distance. So off we went, getting glimpses of typical Maltese architecture on the way. We soon found a harbour cruise on a boat that had some shade, but was open to the nice breeze, and the price was good. Nate picked up some drinks, and we got front row seats. Not a cloud in the sky, nice and warm, Valletta in the distance, and great views wherever we looked. I always feel that a good holiday destination must feature a variety of pastimes. Malta has it all. There's shopping, sightseeing, relaxing, good food, history, trips to islands, and adventure pursuits. Well, we're about to take a tour of the two harbours here. Takes about an hour and a half, costs €10 a head, and looking forward to the experience. So off we go, our boat guide giving an excellent commentary.
From the east, and of course Malta was no exception. This is still Baltic quarantine originated in the parts of the Mediterranean. Was also used to the headquarters of the 10th submarine
Malta has a wonderful mix of history and beauty. It seems wherever I look, there's history waiting to be explored, and yet it's a delightful place.
The fort would host a garrison of 500 men and is one of the finest in existence.
This is Fort Manoel, built in the 18th century. The steps are not very steep, so knights in armor can ascend easily. It seems the whole of Valletta was fortified against the Ottoman invaders. Even in World War II, Malta was bombarded by German planes. The first time I was here, I read a historical novel entitled The Great Siege, Malta, written by Ernie Bradford, that was an excellent read, set in 1565, when the Ottoman Empire sent an army of 40,000 to invade the island of Malta, then held by the Knights Hospitaller. The Knights, about 700 in number, and an army of about 8,000 local Maltese people withstood the siege and repelled the invaders. It's an exciting blow-by-blow description of the event, and the visitor can still see and visit where it all took place, in Fort St. Elmo and Fort St. Angelo, and right here in these harbours. This is Fort St. Elmo, a strategic part of that siege that was actually captured by the invaders, but with the loss of 8,000 men, and where one of the main leaders, Dragut, was shot and killed. In the end, Jean de Valette, his knights, and the courageous army of local people withstood, and the invaders left. Valette's sword, looted in 1798 by Napoleon, and now in the Louvre in Paris, will be loaned to Malta for a time when Valletta is crowned European Capital of Culture for 2018. Later we had the opportunity to visit many of the places we saw from this trip. If this is your first trip to Malta, you will be very impressed by the views that you see. Nate had never been here before, and we had just arrived. For him, it was certainly a wow trip, seeing such diverse sights. The trip enhanced the anticipation factor, like a trailer in a movie. The ancient and the modern, not just side by side, but almost entwined together. the cranes actually looking like their feathered namesakes. This part of the harbour, definitely the commercial part. But history never far away. This is Senglea, another strategic part in the defense of the Great Siege that remained unconquered. As a result, the city was given the title Civitas Invicta, meaning unconquered city, by Grandmaster Valette. These walls have been witness to great battles almost 500 years ago. Today, it is like they stand proud in their resolve. The Maltese people have certainly much in their history to be proud of. We are to the south of Valletta here, a quiet and beautiful place. And certainly this boat trip was worth its weight in gold as an appetizer to Malta, here in the harbour between Senglea and Birgu, also known as Vittoriosa. It was from here that the Knights of St. John governed when they first arrived in Malta in 1530, and certainly gives testimony to the prosperity of many of its residents today. The legendary Fort St. Angelo, the headquarters of the knights during the siege, also standing tall and proud. Then the fortifications of Kalkara. We've only been here a few hours, but already we've been immersed in the beauty and history of this place. And the commentary on the boat has given insight also into the people and the culture of Malta. Already I'm looking forward to exploring the island. We then left the Grand Harbour to return to Sliema, and it's only 3 in the afternoon. I feel as though I was plunged into the history of Malta, and I have to say that Valette and the harbour here is one of the most beautiful I've ever seen. As we came back in, we got a great view of the parish church of Jesus of Nazareth. Now it has some close-up fellowship with its neighbours. Back on shore, we're still exploring. We can enjoy a bus tour or a trip to Gozo. We can get the ferry to Valletta and explore its history and charm. But here I am, still basking in the beauty of the place as evening falls and the sun bathes us in its warm glow. It is certainly one of the most photogenic places on Earth, and I'm enjoying the shooting. What a day it's been. And this is just the beginning. After the boat trip, we took a bus over to the delightful St. Julian's Bay to eat. We've heard it was one of the best places to eat in Malta, as well as being beautiful in the evening, we were not disappointed. It was one of those typical balmy Mediterranean evenings. The heat gone out of the sun, the day winding down, everybody relaxed. Though the presence of a big screen showing the World Cup increased the noise levels somewhat. St. Julian's is to the north of Sliema, the next bay, and is yet another picturesque part of this photogenic paradise. Where to eat was the problem. So many great places to choose from. We considered all the options. Do we want a place with a view? One next to the water, or perhaps overlooking it, or one that boasts the best food? The reputation of good local food won out, and still gave us a great view.
We're going to try the Maltese-style pizza with the Maltese sausage and cheese and other things, and follow it up with another Maltese dish, which is lamb shank and other herbs and things. Looking forward to it, and I'll show it to you.
The beef, the herbs and veggies, the Maltese-style lamb shank, and the Maltese pizza. And yes, it was all delicious. And it was the Gululu kitchen. Afterwards, we checked out the World Cup. Then enjoyed an after-dinner stroll. This really is an historic old world setting, and we enjoyed every minute. And guess what? We haven't even been here for 12 hours yet. The final thing I enjoyed was to sit on our B&B balcony and soak in the atmosphere while Nate went on his 4-mile jog. Oh, to sit on the balcony now that evening's here. Next morning we had breakfast on the balcony overlooking the bay. Our Airbnb and host were excellent. A delightful place to stay and great views and nice decor. It was not long before the distant spires of Valletta were beckoning. This time we planned to take the ferry across the bay. So we strolled up the promenade.
In Sliema Bay, about to get the ferry to Valletta, the ancient city of Valletta, and have a look around those amazing streets there.
We were carrying on where we took off the night before. A beautiful sunny day, and a pleasure to be in this Mediterranean paradise. Having already savoured a little of what it has to offer on the boat trip, we now boarded the Sliema ferry to visit Valletta, and see what it has in store for us. Certainly from this side of the bay, it appears we're in for a good time. Valletta was the highlight of the trip when I visited in 1970. Many cities have changed drastically during that time, but Valletta looks just the same. Malta has a really great atmosphere, a mixture of Mediterranean, history, and fun. Oh, and shopping. Add to that the ease of getting around and the reasonable prices, and you have a great holiday destination. Welcome to Valletta. Time to explore. We've seen it from the water, now up close. We disembarked right next to its most famous landmark, Fort St. Elmo, and headed up into this ancient city. And the first thing we came across were the horse carriages. So we get a guided tour of Valletta. I have to say the carriage ride was a lot of fun. In the distance, Fort Ricasoli. That was in the film Troy with Brad Pitt. We're visiting the Great Siege Bell, inaugurated by Queen Elizabeth II and the President of Malta in 1992, the 50th anniversary of the awarding of the George Cross for bravery to the island of Malta in 1942. It's rung daily at noon. At the foot of the bell tower is a bronze figure representing the 7,000 who died in the siege. It's a little-known fact that more bombs were dropped on Malta during the siege of World War II in 1942 than on Britain during the Blitz. In the first 6 months of 1942, there was only one 24-hour period without an air raid here. We're on the northern side of Valletta, overlooking the Grand Harbour. The strategic location of Malta in the center of the Mediterranean has meant that it's always been a target in times of war. Then it was time to explore Il Belt, the city. The fascinating historical city has a population of 6,444, but the metropolitan area around it has a population of almost 400,000. It's actually the southernmost capital in Europe. The first thing that one notices is the proliferation of old buildings, some dating from the 16th century. Many built during the rule of the Order of St. John. also known as the Knights Hospitaller. The city is typically Baroque in style, though because of the destruction of World War II, there are a number of newer buildings. The official name given by the Order of St. John was the most humble city of Valletta. The city's magnificent fortifications and the beauty of its Baroque palaces, gardens and churches gave the city its nickname Superbissima, most proud. All I can say is that they can be proud of their humility. If you've been watching my travel videos, you'll know I've been a lot of places. Well, Valletta has to be one of my favorite places to visit. The great weather, the great atmosphere, the food, the people, the history, and the exploring. I love it. We popped into the Carmelite Basilica. Magnificent. Another great joy of Valletta is its alfresco dining. Street cafes, open air, special. So we stopped off to soak in the atmosphere. These quiet interludes are priceless.
We're in St. George's Square. Temperature is a balmy 32 degrees centigrade, but only 55 degrees of humidity. Gonna enjoy a coffee, a cold drink, and a snack.
Valletta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the 9th smallest nation on Earth, but does have one of the longest histories, including some buildings reputed to be the world's oldest that are still standing. Enjoyed that little interlude. Chatted with Nate on how Malta has changed and has not changed since 1970. After that, we walked up to St. John's Square. Just around the corner was the Cafe Cordina. I ate here in 1970, when it was only 133 years old. One gets the choice of outside or inside dining. It's right on Republica Street, the main street of Valletta. And after having a chat with the manager, we strolled down the main street, past St. John's Cathedral, enjoying the sights of what was once one of the great capitals of Europe, and today is no less impressive. We had had a horse and cart ride, but the Valletta train looked like a fun trip. So Nate and I jumped onto it for an evening ride around the city. And it really was a fun ride. Watching the world go by and getting interesting glimpses of the city. All kinds of things were happening, and we got to see the tourists, the locals, and the sights. Winding its way through the ancient streets, getting glimpses of buildings and people, and getting also a different perspective. It really does go all around the city, starting and ending at St. John's Square, right in the center. The verdict? I liked it even more than the horse and cart ride, and it was certainly cheaper. For taking pictures and shooting video, it was excellent, and the route included all the major sites. Trips like this are a really enjoyable way to see the city and absorb the atmosphere of this laid-back city with a get-up-and-go attitude. The more time I spend in Malta, the more I like it. It was interesting all the way, and by the time the 30-minute trip had finished, we were really glad we'd taken it.
Wonderful.
We then continued our walk and exploration. As the sun set, temperature 30 degrees, humidity 46%, and time for a drink in one of Valletta's prettiest arcades. Some of the places here looked like film sets from movies set in medieval times. I have to say that in some ways it even reminded me of Venice.
Malta has many interesting alleyways, and it's great to be able to come and have a glass of ice peach tea, escape the 30-degree heat, and enjoy the beautiful alleyway that we have here.
The architecture is stunning, even the back streets. We've decided to have dinner, al fresco style, on the main street. Maybe a rabbit stew. We looked for a good place. Some of the restaurants here are stunning. We walked to the end of Republica Street and the medieval gateway to the city before choosing the best place to have dinner. So amidst history, we enjoyed a very nice meal. Not the rabbit stew, but roast lamb.
Valette is a World Heritage Site, and was made so because of the large number of historical buildings found in one place. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable time, and it's great to be able to have a meal in this kind of setting.
A great way to finish a remarkable day in this amazing capital city. We then jumped on a bus and returned to our B&B. A memory for sure. After some great fun in and around Valletta, we hired a car and set out to explore. I'm fascinated by history, and Malta has some amazing sites, some dating before Stonehenge and the pyramids of Egypt. We were making our way towards the Tarxien temples, an archaeological complex in Tarxien that dates to approximately 3600 BC. The site was accepted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1992, along with the other megalithic temples here. The entrance is impressive, having been restored in the 1950s. Some of the stones are the weight of a baby elephant, and these small spherical stones are thought to have been used to move the large stones. Heritage Malta has done an excellent job here. They state that 4 temples were built in Tarxien between 3600 and 2500 BC, leaving remains here which still bear witness both to the artistic and architectural achievements of local Neolithic islanders. As I walk around the complex and read the numerous information signs, I can't help being transported back 5,000 years. It's a great experience to see what they built, how they built it, and consider how advanced these islanders were to construct such structures 5,000 years ago. The large stone blocks were discovered in 1914 by local farmers ploughing a field, and excavations began. The remains seen here are the earliest and date back to 3600 BC. Great care was taken in the restoration of the site. The lime mortar used is reversible, but it also absorbs salt and moisture and does not damage the original limestone. The rooms are empty today, like an empty house, but in prehistoric time, as one can imagine, they were filled with stone pedestals, pottery, sculptures, and probably wooden furniture and colourful textiles. It's believed the holes in the columns were to facilitate their transportation. Stone slabs were used as flooring to make the ground even. They even had a well in the middle of one building. There are many entrances, and it's believed there would have been doors here, probably made of wood. Artifacts found here give insight into the degree of civilization to which this community aspired. This stone bowl was surrounded by burn marks on the stones around it. It could well have been used as a cooking pot. The threshold is clearly to stop rainwater entering the building. The famous Fat Lady statue, of which only half is left, is thought to represent a mother goddess or a fertility charm. This altar is at the heart of the South Temple. The base was carved out of a single block, and burned animal bones and flint knives were found in this cubbyhole above it, and carved decorative patterns on the base. At that time they only had stone and bone tools, so the carving was a tedious exercise. We then continued our exploration and got lunch on the way. Homemade pizza for €1 and delicious.
Yeah, homemade.
Pizza for €1. Wow. Cheapest pizza in town.
After that, we went to see the Blue Grotto. It was a beautiful day, and we were really enjoying it. Energized by our €1 pizza and enjoying the views from the cliffs and the famous Blue Grotto. Then on to another amazing sight. Not far from the Blue Grotto, up the coast, is another megalithic temple complex, that of Ejahim, in the Maltese language meaning standing or worshipping stones. Another great heritage Malta site with excellent displays. These are the oldest freestanding stone monuments in the world. They must have been built by the Phoenicians who had the technology to do it, made of such large blocks that only giants could have built them. So the visitor starts out getting a preview that includes models, displays, and a video. Then we made our way outside to see for ourselves. Because of severe weathering, a protective tent now covers the complex. When was Ejahim built?
Between 3600 and 3200 BC. The oldest standing monument on the face of the earth.
They are among the most ancient religious sites on earth, described by World Heritage as unique architectural masterpieces. Some have been restored to give some insight into what they would have looked like 5,000 years ago. Just think about it. That was when the average height of a male was 5'3", and if you lived to be 40, you were doing well. The doors to many rooms are small rectangular apertures hewn out of stone slabs, making it difficult to get in and out, but great protection. Working in stone was commonplace both for furniture and decoration. Structures like these gave plenty of protection from just about everything. The roofs were even made of stone. 4 statuettes similar to the one at Tarxien were found here. The base, to which 2 others were attached, is still here.
This temple was built 1,000 years before the pyramids of Egypt.
From there we walked the 500 meters to Mnajdra. An interesting fact here is that in caves nearby were found remains of animals, including dwarf elephants, wolves, and hippopotami, believed to have lived here before humans arrived. Another observation is that the South Temple is perfectly aligned with the rising sun at the equinoxes of March and September. Inside, the temple walls slope inwards to narrow the span needed for the corbelled roof. Pitted decoration is found on many of the slabs. There are 3 temples in the complex. the ancient walled city of Mdina served as the island's capital from antiquity to medieval times. The walls remain to this day, protecting a population of just under 300, but it's now contiguous with the town of Rabat, which takes its name from the Arabic word for suburb, which has a population of over 11,000. Mdina has a fascinating history, but also is a fun place to visit. It is certainly one of those need to sit and soak places, where atmosphere shouts louder than its words. We came across a handsome and happy couple making a memory, and were able to congratulate them. This place goes back to the 8th century BC, when the Phoenicians came and founded it, and called it Malith. It became part of the ancient Phoenician Empire that stretched around the Mediterranean, though the Phoenicians themselves came from its eastern shores. When the Romans came in 218 BC, they named it Melite, at which time it was larger than the present-day Mdina. It was reduced to its present size during the Byzantine occupation of Malta, during which time the city assumed its present name, derived from the Arabic Mdina, meaning the city. It remained the capital of Malta until the arrival of the Order of St. John in 1530, when they moved the capital to Birgu. Nate was enjoying himself. He had just graduated in London with an honours degree.
The ancient city of Mdina, and we're the only people here.
Mdina declined after the capital moved, but as a result it still retains the medieval character it has today. The old priory, 1474. Wow! Some of these places are old. Mdina has the nickname the Silent City, and one can surely understand why. Christianity here has always been strong, mainly due to the fact that Paul the Apostle was shipwrecked in Malta in 60 AD. Luke, who was with Paul, wrote, "The natives showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and made us all welcome, because of the rain that was falling and because of the cold." Even more illuminating is that the father of Publius, the Roman governor of Melite at that time, was sick of dysentery and had a fever. And he was healed when Paul went to him and prayed. Publius later became a believer and was the first bishop of Malta, before being martyred in 112 AD. This is St. Paul's Cathedral. The evening time was really peaceful. Hardly anyone was here. We even found a 500-year-old tourist shop, and then decided to celebrate Nate's graduation.
In Mdina, had a walk around. Now we're going to have dinner in a very nice place.
We're in the Mdina restaurant, and the place is exquisite. I can tell you it had food to match. I had prawns, Nate had bream, Pellegrino to drink, and the desserts were works of art. The staff and service were excellent. The building is a Norman building from medieval times. The atmosphere, amazing.
600 years old. The Tudor room, the restaurant, just a great dining experience.
It was 10:15 when we came out of the restaurant and walked back to the car. And all I can say is the place is a gem. Great restaurants, great atmosphere. And in the evening after the crowds have left, it's romantic, peaceful, and historic. Archaeological evidence showed the city was a thriving Muslim settlement by the beginning of the 11th century. 1048 to 49 is one date given when the city was founded and its walls were constructed. Today, Mdina is one of Malta's main tourist venues, hosting about 750,000 tourists a year. An extensive restoration of the city walls was undertaken between 2008 and 2016. What a place.